Jagdish bhai, good morning and welcome. Jagdish,
Jagdish bhai, accept our congratulations to whole team KGP for getting the healthcare award.
Jagdish bhai is still not fully connected, it seems. His audio is not working. Probably he's not hearing us. Anyway, we are live on the YouTube now and we'll start the meeting. Before I start the meeting, let me make some settings so that only 4 panelists will be seen, and we'll add Jagdish Chinappa as special commentator also. So, Rachita, can you do that?
Yes.
And you also join in this. Okay. So I think we are good to go now. So good morning and welcome back to this Saturday Club of Baroda meeting. Today we have a little different format. All these years we have been having only monologues with interaction with the audience later on. Only I remember only couple of times we had panel discussion on some infectious disease like during the COVID times. So today we have changed the format and we have a very interesting topic that is about women's empowerment, the realities and solutions. Why this idea came to me? Basically, I attended the Paddycon 24 at Cochin, and we had a very wonderful panel discussion. It was labeled as a conclave on women empowerment, and with very elite panelists, we had wonderful discussions there. In our day-to-day life, we see several situations where we see that there is a gender bias in all spheres of life, maybe it politics or sports or entertainment or economy or business or services, whatever you take. There is, the society has been unfair to women, I mean, so to say. And but women are also human beings, and still we have to talk about women empowerment that reflects, the picture in the society. So it's a human issue, I believe. And to discuss about women empowerment, we have a very elite panel with us. It's a pleasure to introduce each of them. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Bhavna Mehta for the first time in Saturday Club of Baroda. She has a very long CV, and it's a pleasure to brief it. Dr. Bhavna Mehta is currently a head at Faculty of Social Work, Director Internal Quality Assurance Cell, in charge controller of examinations of MS University, Vadodara. She is the former Dean, Faculty of Social Work, former Dean Officer on Special Duty Faculty of Law. She is a qualified social worker and in this field for more than 35 years now. And her areas of interest are women's studies and human resource management, education. And she has worked extensively on various other issues like violence, health, human rights, empowerment, child rights, gender development, gender and development, and corporate social responsibility. There are many more credits to her, but I cannot go on because it will compromise on our time. And she has been a visiting faculty to across the country, many university across the country and abroad also. She has traveled a lot. She's a gender trainer who has taken more than 100 gender sensitization and POSH awareness programs. And she's widely traveled and has presented her work in many national and international forums and has more than 50 academic publications in reputed journals. So that's about Dr. Bhavna Mehta. Welcome, madam. Our next elite panelist is Dr. Sheila Iyer. She's a colleague. He did her MBBS and MD pediatrics from MS University Vadodara, and she has also done fellowship in neonatology from Australia. Currently, she is professor in Department of Pediatrics, Parul Institute of Medical Science and Research, and formerly she was professor and head at Medical College Baroda. And her field of interest and specializations are neonatology, nutrition, growth, hemophilia, and she has established many services in the Department of Pediatrics in SSG Hospital. And she was also president of Gujarat State Chapter of National Neonatology Forum in the year 2013-14. Lastly, we have young entrepreneur Rachita. She's an entrepreneur and technology leader. She is the co-founder of startup called Unlock Life, a digital friend for seniors. She's an engineer and MBA from Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. She has worked with mid-large scale startups like Gojek in Indonesia, Glovo in Europe, and InMobi in India and China before starting her own venture. So with this brief introduction of the panelists, we start the discussion. And my first question goes to Dr. Bhavna Ben. Why do we need to talk about this topic? Please share some general data and observations, and we'll take up specific fields later on. So Bhavna Ben, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. At the outset, let me thank this Saturday Club of Vadodara for having me here. I'm in the midst of specialized doctors. So my point of view will come more from the social work perspective. And Dr. Satish, it's very nice to know that you have decided to discuss on this topic, which is very, very relevant. In fact, with the pediatrics point, and the women, especially girl child, goes so very well when we talk about child sexual abuse and the violence against women. So I need not dwell more on it, and that answers your questions to me. That when we talk about violence, especially in the country like India, and violence against women, it starts from a female fetus which is in the womb of a mother, and we have female infanticide, feticide existing even today in our country. So we have, if you look at the data, since you asked me that, um, you know, uh, it is a very acknowledged world over that 33% of the Indian women experience violence sometime or other, even till today. Because I'm in the middle of in the midst of the doctor fraternity, let me also, I'm sure you all know that the adolescent girls, even till today in India, give birth to. And there are data to say that 17 adolescent girls out of 1,000 give birth to a child. So that means we have child marriage practices existing. If Akhatij is coming so close by, and if you go around in some of the parts of our country, including Gujarat, in the rural areas, you'll find child marriage practices still going on. So you can go on to say, right, in the different fields, though you're going to dwell on it later, but if you be it education, be it health, be it technology, be it violence, you name politics, even till recently in our parliament, you have only 15% of women who are in parliaments. So such a big nation, more than 500 seats, almost over 50% of the population is women. Of course, the child sex ratio talks is more skewed in terms of the girl child ratio, but still you say 49% of the Indian population is women. You don't find women representing anywhere equal to 50%. Women in labor force participation also is only 22%. So though we see women working all over, this recognition is still not there. And there are a number of reasons, social reasons, political reasons, economic reasons. And that's why we need to discuss definitely on this topic, even after 75 years of our independence and talking so much about women empowerment.
Thank you,
Yes, Dr.
Dr.
Satish.
Panaben. I think it's a phenomenon across the world. I mean, it's a global problem, I think, because if you look at US, no, still they do not have a woman president after so many years of independence.
True.
And that reminds me of one quote which I recently read was about women, empowering women is not just about fairness. It is about unleashing half the world's potential. I mean, it's so truly says everything about why we should do women empowerment. Now, coming to Dr. Sheila, what are your experiences and observations in the field of education and medicine?
Okay. As we discussed that when women empowerment is the process, it's not something which just comes by law or anything. Definitely in the field of education and medicine, medical education also, probably in 1960s, there were hardly just post-independence also, less than 5% in professional group as female students, which definitely has gone up. And if we look at the recent data, Medical education, 50% of girl students entering the medical education is definitely very, very encouraging that more and more, as well as government also has given a lot of initiatives of giving some economic strength to this, but lot of so interest also coming into. But what I have found is, yes, entering, or when we look at the 12th results, 10th results, that females are topping, this is that lot of headlines we see. But after completing education, when it comes to taking up as professional career, or they're advancing in medical research, or a number of PhDs, or number of CEOs, number of directors, number of heads, when you come, that is markedly low. Even in research, very less contributed by female. If our entry point, we have so many, where are we losing them? Maybe somewhere social, political, cultural, many things are coming as hindrance, or there are barriers. So I would say education definitely has increased, but still it has not reached the grassroots underprivileged class as much as it should. So probably a lot of NGO, politically there have been a lot of equal rights have been given, but whether do we see it in numbers? Then yes, we are not yet seeing it in numbers. Entry point, yes, increased, but we need to go up the ladder, which is still an enigma.
Sheila, anything about our branch, like say medicine, what kind of gender bias you observe in the medical field?
Yeah, like as I told you, entry point, yes, 50% of this has been all India figures, not only that MSU. That probably in late 1970s, we had 25% female students. Instead of that, today nearly equal seats are grabbed by female, girls, and they're coming. But there are social, cultural beliefs. They are going up in the ladder, as I say, or choosing the branch, coming up in leadership qualities. I think we need to still enable a lot. Look at the barriers and try to, probably because it's a process. It's not going to come just by political will is important. But those who are in this picture, what are the barriers they are facing, and how do we control them, or how do we help them out would be important. Because as I said, going up the ladder, the number is less.
Yeah, what I observe as a medical practitioner is that girls are not encouraged to take surgical branches like general surgery or orthopedic.
Yes,
They're
yes.
actually looked upon,
Yeah. And there's a lot of bullying when they join these branches.
Yeah, they find
bullying, and they're not given enough support. So many things happen. So there is a difference which is biologically tried. And once is okay, gynec you can take anesthesia, you can take this, but probably yet to see an orthopedic surgeon coming as. Similarly in sports, so there are issues.
Yes, that we read every day in the newspaper. So
maybe
now
if it's by choice, I think we should not say they are not doing it this, but it should not be a taboo.
Right. So now let us talk about another field of our life, and that is corporate world. Rachita, can you share some experiences in the field of corporate world, where how do you see the challenges to women?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for having me here. It's a privilege to be in the likes of, Sheila ma'am, Jagdish uncle, and Bhavna aunty. So we talked about how it is, how women are facing certain challenges overall in the world, especially in not so privileged areas. So talking about the corporate side, I think it's safe to say and assume that it is actually one of those places where you have more educated, more aware people than what you see overall, and then you would assume that the opportunities are better, the gap is lesser. And I feel that with my experience, I have been very privileged to been brought up in a family where like women empowerment has always been at the forefront, or even in the educational institutes that I went to, or the places that I work. But as I started growing up and understanding what it actually means, I have noticed that it's not about, so there are two kinds of challenges that women face, right? Like one is where it's very glaringly obvious that this is something which is, wrong, where opportunities are not being given, or, they are having to make choices which sort of puts them back against the men in the same situation. But there are a lot of invisible biases that creep in, where people with good intentions actually end up creating obstacles for women unknowingly or unintentionally. The intention is always right, but still it is an invisible bias, and this creeps in because there's a lot of it's a deep cultural setting. Like, we are wired like that since childhood, and with the society that we live in, not just in India but overall in the world as well, there are these invisible biases. And I want to sort of give a couple of examples to bring it out, so that you can start noticing some of these things which are not glaringly wrong in that sense. So for example, in terms of interviewing, or when you're hiring new folks, or when you're thinking about promotion, if you find a woman who's in, say, a marriageable age, or at a stage of her life where she can have a baby, there is hesitance. And that hesitance doesn't come from saying she's not capable of doing it, but it's more like, hey, what if she comes in and then she goes on leave, or if she comes in and she has to split her responsibility. So it's an invisible bias that nobody thinks like that when a man walks in, and nobody thinks, like, whether he's going to be a father or whether he's going to get married. You just assume that that person is just like, he's not more responsible for all those life stages, and then he should be able to work as it. So this is an invisible bias that creeps in. Another thing is about good intention being probably causing more obstacles. Like, for example, some companies recently introduced menstrual leaves. It was a great progress to come out and acknowledge that women have certain days where they don't feel their best selves to come to office. But then, with this good intention, when menstrual leaves were introduced, it sort of happened that, hey, now you have to announce that you're taking a menstrual leave. So like, that also causes that kind of friction. Of course, there are workarounds it and stuff like that, but still the intention is good, but it causes this invisible bias that comes in. Another great example is not having enough infrastructure, supportive infrastructure in women's washrooms. And all of these things happen because mostly the decision makers are males, and they have either not experienced it, or they have not thought about it, or they don't know how to think about it. So it brings us back to the question, where how do we get more women into the decision making forum as well, which sort of sensitizes or empowers the other males who are trying to do good, but they don't know that there are some of these things, there are these invisible biases that creep in.
Alka?
Dadam, you're on mute.
You're mute.
Sorry. So thank you, Rachita, for highlighting the situation in corporate world. Now, having heard Dr. Sheila and Rachita.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yes.
Like, she brought out a very good point that the biological difference, and for women at a midlife, not even midlife, just finishing after their educational careers, when they want to go up, family, childbearing, marriage, all are very important events in any woman's life. And that does become an hindrance in going up the ladder, because there are not enough support systems to be handled during that phase. And one more important barrier comes to that: you want to take a break from a career and then restart. The opportunities in these days rat race gets less for women. Like, I take a break of 5 years and then get back to the career and I have to compete. There are a lot of obstacles. So that's a very important barrier which comes in a
Thank you,
woman's
Sheila.
life.
We'll take up this point also later when we have time for highlighting the solutions. So having heard Dr. Sheila and Rachita, now Dr. Bhavna, tell us about other fields. What is the situation? You briefly mentioned it during our starting of the discussion. If you want to add something more to it.
Yes, surely. A couple of things. What Dr. Sheila highlighted and what Rachita also said so very well in terms of the barriers. See, in the university, you find that, I prepare annual report of the university for past some time. And I see at the graduate level, you have more number of, males stepping out of the university compared to female. Of course, gold medals and others, as we see in the newspaper, more number of females are getting gold medals and other things, right from SSC, 12 standard, wherever you see. But in terms of numbers, more number of boys pass out compared to girls. But when we look at the PG data, postgraduate data, we find more number of female passing out compared to boys. That means girls choose to go for higher studies rather than the boys. That is a fact, especially if I talk about Maharaja Sayajirao University of Baroda. But when you look at the work style and work culture, you find more number of male in the works places compared to female. We talked about surgery branch, or we talked about orthopedics. Nowadays, I'm sure Rachita also will agree, people will talk so much about diversity. We're talking about having an inclusive workspace. We are talking about having a more diversified workspace. That means more number of female, more number of people with disability, more like transgender, and all to be people with different ethnicity, religion, to be part of work culture. And that is highly promoted in most of the corporate nowadays. When we look at recruitment, because I talk about human resource management as well, when we want to recruit women, and when we're looking at a mechanical engineer, women to be to be appointed, at the shop floor, we do not find any mechanical engineers. That is another issue. Rachita did talk about these biases in the corporate world. Let me also talk about women in leadership in any field. We look at in terms of politics, we look at education institutions heading, where major corporates worlds heading. We had to have 33% to 50% of reservations to have women in the political leaderships at the grassroots level. So until that provision is not provided, you will not find women. For years together, as we said that we did not have a women president, and as you rightly said, America still do not have a women president. So these biases exist in each and every field, and if we have that lens to examine that, we will find it everywhere. Right, so that is very important. Even distribution of tasks, even if women are appointed and employed in workplaces or anywhere, let me talk about my own, university, because I represent that field. कुछ program है, distribution of work has to be done. अच्छा madam, food committee आप देख लेना, because women know how to arrange, work out the menu and how to do things. If it has to be something else to be arranged, madam आप देख लेना, because that is the role we are playing at home. So we are expected to play even at a workspace. But whereas for male, whatever, okay, raat ko evening late duties, I don't think female, it is assumed that female will not be able to do it, and it is automatically given to men. And men try to become more protector, good intention, as Rachita said, which may not be requiring, and at that patronizing, that entire attitude will also, not allow women to showcase whatever she's capable of doing it. So I think you find this right from school. The way, of course, things are changing. Things are changing for better, but we still have a long way to go, because it is so deep rooted in our psyche that after being married for so many years, even till today, and talking about women's issues for so many years, if I have to serve on the dining table, automatically my hand goes to serve everyone and not anyone. Even if others are sitting on the table, they'll wait tingling, okay, my mama will come and will serve everyone. I think it requires just that consciousness that, okay, others can also do it, and I can just sit and not do it. So that's about it.
Very well said, madam. So very well said. You all must be wondering why Dr. Jagdish is spotlighted here, though he's not a panelist. So Jagdish is a very regular attendee of our Saturday Club of Baroda, a close friend, pediatrician from Bangalore. And he has vast knowledge about various subjects. So at the end of our discussion, I will invite him to give his special comments. So Jagdish, thank you for joining us. Now, having a good overview of what are the challenges, now let us talk about some finer points. Like, often women are hailed as multitaskers. I mean, is it a mirage? Are we as a society fooling ourselves by telling or saying that women are multitaskers and they can do so many things? So views from all the panelists on this.
Okay, may I start, Sheila?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Okay, I think it is, do we have a choice not to be a multitasker, right? Because while we have started venturing ourselves out into and taking on the roles which traditionally was not done by women, our traditional role has still not gone away from us. So while I finish my work, on my way back home, I have to think, घर पे दूध है, vegetable है, do I have to pick up some laundry thing? Do I have to do this? Which usually is not thought as others' responsibility. So if I call and say, "Acha, रास्ते में से आते आते ये लेके आना," then it is fine. Someone will help me do it. My husband will go and get it, or my son will do it. But basically, that remains my responsibility. So women do not have a choice but to be a multitasker. And we all know that if you have 100% concentration on doing something, naturally you will be able to do better, and you'll be able to deliver better without any fear or getting distracted from your other tasks. So I think it is created a kind of thing that women can be a multitasker, and let them keep doing it because they are best in doing it, right? You can be the best mother, you can be the best nurturer, you can be best in everything. And we also, women, think that we are a superwoman. I can take care of my child, I can take care of my home, I can take care of our workplace, and we want to prove ourselves everywhere. It's okay, if I say that, fine, I don't want to do it or I cannot do it. But if I say that, then tomorrow people will say, "Acha, to fir kaam chhod do, ghar pe baitho," if you cannot manage it. And that happens with most of the women many times. So I think multitasking takes its own toll on women in terms of burnout, in terms of the way they are able to deliver. घर पे इतना सारा, if there is a dinner hosted, I may have made 5 things for the dinner, but I forget at the time of serving. So I have to remind someone, yaad karao je, that I have put something in the fridge which has to be put on the table. And that is because you are so preoccupied into doing a lot of things at a time. Mixture is on, your phone is on, your gas is on, your child is sitting out, waiting to go. And I think women do everything. So this Durga Mata thing, which is we worship because we think women have 10 hands and only one mind, and they will be able to cope with it. So I think to a certain extent, it is a loaded responsibility which needs to be withdrawn from
Yes,
women.
yes. So I tried to highlight this issue to break the stereotype. Actually, we as males, including myself, I think we take refuge in this, that women have a lot of capabilities. They are multitaskers. So it's okay that they are doing so much. I think we males need to break that stereotype of our mindset about women's capability. So now moving on, if other two panelists want to add to this, otherwise we can move on.
Multitasking. Yeah, as Dr. Bhavna Ben rightly put, it takes away a lot of toll.
Yeah.
And some of the studies have found that same male also can do multitasking, and probably it should become a shared responsibility, so that it does affect cognition. So if you are in a profession where it requires a lot of cognition and you are multitasking, maybe your quality will deteriorate.
Right.
So though we may take a lot of pride in we are very good multitaskers, at times it may not be right thing to do depending on the type of profession you're doing.
I'll
Sheila,
just add
taking
one
it further.
small
Yes, Rachita.
Just one small thing here about this fatigue. So it's real. It's called context switching fatigue. When you're trying to do too many things and you're changing every few, like in a duration of time, say every few minutes or every few hours, you are changing what you're doing. It's context switching, and that causes burn. In fact, like nowadays, there are a lot of these trainings that talk about, how multitasking is not really great, right? Like it's not an art, like it's by design that you are having to do it. And then there are blocks, so there are different methods where you say, like, you go into deep focus mode, whatever it is that you are doing. So you can do different things, and not just for women, overall you can do different things, but you have larger blocks of time when you are doing it, so that this context switching fatigue doesn't really happen, because it is a real thing.
Thank you, Rachita. Dr. Sheila, taking it further, what are your views on biological differences, which are harsh realities? What is its role in our understanding on women empowerment?
See, biologically, men and women have a lot of differences, and which are known since ages. That and their roles in society also have been earmarked. So there is no kind of feminism that this cannot be done by males or this cannot be done. One of the main barriers that I told you that in empowering or coming up in society, because empowering was you are allowing the women to live life in their own terms with full potential, that they come out and do everything in all spheres. But as we talked about earlier, that marriageable age, childbearing, child rearing, family to be looked after, parents to be looked after, because all these are responsibilities again coming more to women, because whether it could be in-laws or it could be parents, when women have more responsibility towards looking them up. So those social things and the biological differences, but there should be something which, and this only cannot come from political will or some legal laws. It's the society as a social norm, as culturally, as you said, is the way of life which has to change, which accepts, like as Rachita told, menstrual leave or a maternity leave, or because otherwise women live in guilt when they are not able to give time to their child. With this, I've seen in all professional women. They feel their child is in 10th and 12th, they take a break in their career because they feel if mother doesn't pay attention. So biologically, as well as their social responsibility, makes them different, but it should be well supported by society. And there are even health issues. Medically also, we see so many things are more in women as compared to men. Even men have some issues which are more. So that also has to be, the health of women is not looked after by themselves so much. And though the lifespan is higher in female, they have many morbidities. So I would say biologically there is difference, but it should be addressed.
So when we talk about, I think solutions will go again to this issue of re-entry into the career after their
Yes.
motherhood role is over. Dr. Bhavna, you have been dealing with women and children all through your 35 years of career. There is always a general perception that females or the women feel that they can take best care of the kids and not the fathers, and that's why they become very submissive as far as child rearing is concerned. And fathers are often left out of the whole thing. I mean, is it true? What are your views on that?
I think, as Shailaben also said, it is so much deep rooted from childhood. That to be a daughter, to be a mother, to be a wife is something, and for men to be a macho man, to be a bread earner of the family, to be a protector of the family is something which has been taught to them from the time they start learning things. So I think its socialization process is so deep rooted that women and men both have their own set defined roles and responsibilities, and they think that is the way it has to be in life. And that's why women feel that to take care of the children is only their responsibility. And that is so glorified, this entire thing. And that's why we find nowadays in this WhatsApp university, so many things going on about the father and the way father is, sacrificing his things, his passion and whatever he would like to do because he is also contributing. But we glorify mother and we completely negate or not even pay attention to what father can do and is doing. I think both have a very important role to play, but we since centuries we have been talking only about women, and women also think it is mainly their responsibility. It is to give up that is also very difficult psychologically, emotionally also, because if I'm taking care of my child, if like let me talk about my own self, like my son, when he was young, when he would fall, he would say, "Oh, daddy." He will never say "Oh, mama." So, and I used to be, but everyone's children are talking about, when they fall, mama ko yaad karte. But my son talks only about my father, but that talks about his bonding with his father. So the father can also equally bond with the son or the child, and that should be the way it should be. But we have a very set roles and responsibilities for everyone in a society, and which is so culturally deep rooted that I think we need to have different alternative models set up. It's okay. I mean, nowadays you see that the father choose to take a paternity leave and sit at home. taking care of the children, and the mother goes out and work. They want to be there are male, which I find in today's generation, want to be a homemaker, and they said, why I don't want to take this stress of climbing, having a corporate world issues and the corporate world competitions. I would rather sit at home and take care of the family. So I think this reversal of role also can be promoted with culture, because it's ultimately a social learning. It's not something that I've learned to the cooking skills and the taking care of my child skills I've learned from my mother's womb. I have developed it over a period of time and learned through observations and through society. So things can change, and I think we must promote that. Dr.
you.
Satish.
Thank you for that comment, because so far we have been talking about a lot of challenges and harsh realities of life. Now let us move on to certain positive things and solutions. So before we move on to the solutions, we would like to know from all the panelists, what are the positive developments that you see in your field? Like, say, for example, if I talk as a pediatrician, what I'm seeing is that now more fathers are accompanying their kids for their routine, consultation visits. Which was not there earlier. Only the mother used to come. Now I often see only father coming with the child. So that's a positive development, so to say, in at least our field. So over to Rachita, then Dr. Sheila, and then Dr. Bhavna again, highlighting few positive developments in your field.
So if we talk about corporates, there are lot of good developments that are happening, and that's stemming from this awareness, education, and the good intention. A couple of examples would be that in most big companies or even startups for that matter, there is awareness, and hence women's washrooms are, the infrastructure is built separately, which means that in every bathroom stall, there are sanitary napkins. So it's not like you have to go to a vending machine to get it. It's there, right? It's right there in your stall when you need it. So it's a thoughtful decision that's being done. There are crashes that come up in the workplace itself. So it's not like you have to drop your child at a crash and then come to office, but it's part of your office building. So you can bring your children to work, and you can actually go meet your child when you are on a break, or so you can spend more time with your child. Also, returning mothers, there are programs for dedicated to returning mothers, so that whoever has had to take a break for whatever reason in their career and now they want to come back, there are these active initiatives that are being taken to welcome these women. The evaluation criteria are also such that you take into account the experience that the mother has had while bringing up a child. So it's not really a break or a sabbatical that the mother was on. It was actually a full-time job that she was doing. And how do we evaluate her growth in that situation, and what can that bring to the table when she comes back to the workforce? So these are just some examples of good developments that have been happening.
Yeah, Sheila, your comment on
As you told, definitely like working with low socioeconomic population in a public hospital for all these years. Especially with neonatology, when I was seeing all this our nurseries and all, saw even from lower socioeconomic fathers taking part in postpartum care, giving kangaroo mother care to their preemie newborns. So there is definitely a change, but definitely yet we need to make a big leap in that. In private practice, I do agree, because I've also seen in my known social circle that fathers equally participating in child rearing, coming for regular immunization with them, knowing their, or sometimes they feel they are more important, they don't allow mothers to talk, and they talk about. But there's still, when both of them are working, there is a feel where the responsibility is put on the mother, or she neglected, she was busy with her profession, that's why this happened. So this still needs a change, but there's definitely an improvement which is coming. But the problem with this has to improve, because more and more nuclear families, the parental support is decreasing in urban areas, while probably joint families used to support a lot if it was a conducive environment in the whole family towards better women empowerment or women's status. Then it was a shared responsibility. In a nuclear family, as Rachita puts it, now more and more the workplace environment and the partners' equal sharing would be a very important thing to have better.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sheila. Dr. Bhavana, you want to add something to this? What comes to my mind is like Chandrayaan and this female-centric, movies now being made, and lot of, I mean, in politics also we see, India, we had 4 or 5 female chief ministers at some point of time. We had a prime minister who was a female. So I think things are, brightening up, I would say. Dr. Bhavana, your comments.
Yeah, surely things are definitely changing. And in this vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, we want that, there's entire thing of the fabric of the society to an extent becomes more equal rather than not women-centric or male-centric, but equal centric. That's very, very important. And we have made a lot of roadways in last many, many years. So when we talk about reservation for women in political spheres in local self-government, when in 1992, when it came, we were fine that you have a sarpanch pati. So you have women who is a sarpanch, who is a gram panchayat leader, but then you have a husband who is ruling on her behalf. But things have changed. When Rabri Devi became the chief minister of Bihar, we all knew that the Lalu Prasad Yadav is doing. But look at Rabri Devi right now, the confidence which she has been talking and the change it has brought in her family, that other family members have also, women members have. Whether they're good or bad is a different question. But I think you see this change across where you have more and more number of women coming out, and we are talking about women's issues and all. But as Shailaben said, there is still lot and lot needs to be done in terms of the way women are looked at in terms of when they climb the ladder, in the ladder. Many times it is not seen that they have achieved it due to their own competency or due to the hard work that they have put in. Many times they said, because abhi to, this diversity and promotion of women needs to be done. So that's why she's been given that, seat, or she's been given that position. So, and when women gets promotions or women gets extra responsibility, it is seen more as a favor rather than she earning that. I think that mindset also requires a lot of change to be done. So girls earlier times were becoming postgraduates, but would wanting to, that is what I see, wanting to work in and around Vadodara, or when I graduated, I wanted to work in and around Baroda, in Mumbai. I could never think of stepping out of my own home city. But now girls are willing to travel across. They don't mind working any part of the country or traveling abroad. So I think the parents have also become more open. Generations have changed, but still, we have a long way.
Political will also, Mahila Shashastrikaran. I mean, that is women empowerment. But what as you said, Mahila Chandrayaan or a chief minister or a prince, that's just the tip of iceberg. We need to let a lot that our base also becomes equally strong and more women. And I'm definitely not for women reservation. I think they should.
So we are coming to that, Sheila. We are coming to that. Now, having talked about what are the challenges and what are the positive things happening, now let us talk about solution. We have about 10 minutes left for discussion so that we can have some audience participation also. So there are certain statements people make when we talk about women empowerment, challenges and solution. One of them is that enabling is more important than empowering. Somebody would say entitled may not work, as Dr. Sheila was trying to say. So now my question to all the panelists, in your respective fields, address these issues of, what are the solutions that you look forward to? Like for say Rachita, to start with, I'll just enumerate few questions. You can briefly answer them. So it will be more of a rapid fire. How can companies create an inclusive environment? Probably you already highlighted few things. How do you think society can break down stereotypes and biases against women in leadership role, especially in corporate world? What strategies do you suggest for closing the gender pay gap? I mean, we are not talked about pay gap also. How can women better advocate for themselves in the workplace? And lastly, any role of technology in the women empowerment? Try to briefly address all these 3-4 issues, please.
I'll talk about two things because I think those two sort of, cover everything. One is the ability and the mindset to create opportunities rather than creating reservation or entitlement, so that whenever you achieve it, just like what Bhavna ma'am said, it shouldn't come out of saying, bichari, because women hai, ye reservation hai, she got it. create opportunities. What I mean by that is, so it's a common thing for technology companies to have overnight hackathons. So you are in one place for, like 24 hours, and you probably go home late in the night. And to say that, acha, women will not be able to participate, so let's not do overnight hackathon and we'll do it during the day. That's not the solution. The solution is to probably say, okay, we are going to, because the assumption is that, if a woman goes out late in the night, there could be some issues out there. Companies are now providing cabs to go drop women home when they are, working beyond certain hours, say beyond 8 p.m. if you are there. So you create this opportunity for them to not have a reason to fall out. Like having crash in the workplace is a reason to not have women walk out or opt out of that situation. So create equal opportunities by taking into account these smaller invisible biases that might creep in, and the stereotypes that sort of are drivers for decision makers. The other thing is being conscious about the pay gap. So nowadays there is this concept about having pay bands. So regardless of how you are coming in, whether you are being promoted or it's a lateral hire, or you have less experience or more experience, if by your skill set you fall within a certain band, then you are you're paid that. And it's a conscious decision by using data to analyze where the gender gap is and then plugging it proactively. So every promotion or compensation cycle, leaders, the HR leaders actually go through this in a lot of companies these days, to make sure that this gender gap is first identified and then addressed, and then steps are taken to not let this creep into future as well, by creating these gender neutral equal bands. In fact, this goes way beyond just being gender neutral, but being truly inclusive, regardless of your age, your experience, your religion, gender, faith, whatever it is. If you fall within this skill set, then this is the band that you fall into. So these are some steps that can be taken, and are being taken, to ensure not entitlement but enablement.
Great, great. Coming to Sheila, I would like you to highlight about the role of mentorship. Men studies, we are talking about role of men in women empowerment, and something about policies and legislations.
As we said, that enabling is more important than just empowering, is that we have to make the surroundings legally as well as economically and others also, that women get equal rights, equal responsibilities also. It's not only rights, because with rights, responsibilities come. So mentoring wise, yes, especially have been in a field where you are with younger generation, younger students, you want that in every field, you find a mentor who guides you in going up the ladder, as well as finding out your talents that you would do well, or your era is going to be different than what I did it. So probably explore yourself. So definitely in every field, whether it's a medical field or a corporate or anything, having mentors definitely helps in growth of an individual. It could be men or women. So for women, because there are sometimes some social other issues, a mentor can help also in getting solution to that. Amendments wise, probably if we look at the gender gap or the difference, India was ranking much behind in the World Economic Forum as far as the gender gap between men and women were, or female and male was there. It's definitely improving. Probably where India has done well is in the political front, giving better legislations and other things. Like first we came out with child marriage. I would just tell you this recent, my example yesterday. An adolescent girl came to OPD and her symptoms were more functional. And at that time, what we realized, that parents have already engaged her and they're going to get her married and send her after 18. Both parents were counseled. They said, no, it's in our society and our community that we have to do. So we will not send her before she is 18, because what I asked her was, it's legally wrong what you have done. No, we'll not send her. While the girl was very well studying, she wanted to study. She was coming from a village of MP where she had to travel around 12 kilometers now to go beyond 10th standard. Okay. For which father said, it's difficult for me to send her. So there are issues where legislation, child marriages have been prevented legally wrong, but still happens. Similarly, yesterday only, I have this girl who is 16-year-old, sickle cell disease, and she has delivered a 32-weeker. She came with convulsion. It was probably a stroke and not eclampsia. But then this teenage pregnancy, we should have prevented. So health issues, legislations are there. But what I want is how can we implement them?
Right. So I think it's more important to make community aware about this legislation.
Yes.
I think that's the solution to it, because as you said, legislations are in place to take care of all these things, but they are not being implemented because community is not aware, or they don't want to fall into the legislation part.
Like
They
as
want to
Rachita
define
said, we all belong to an elite class who got all facilities for us to grow as
Right.
women. Bhavna Ben would agree
Yes.
that we didn't have to overcome the obstacles because we belong to a family where female literacy, female education, empowerment, everything was supported. But we still have a lot of people who needs to be, I think society needs to support them.
So we have last few minutes with us, so we'll extend this meeting a little bit by 5 minutes or so that we can have audience participation. But coming to Bhavna Ben, your views on the issues discussed by Rachita and Sheila, and as well as some words of advice to young women making themselves more assertive in this field of gender bias and every other issues that we have discussed. With your experience of 35 years of dealing with these issues, we expect carry home message from you.
Thank you, Satish Bhai. But I think both of them have really covered a lot of things, and we have discussed it quite in length. Only what I usually tell my students as well, and girl students especially, when I go to corporate world for trainings or when I go to rural areas for the training, irrespective of the class, caste, women and girls, I say women need to dream. We need to dream, and we need to dream big. I think it's so very important because dreaming is never thought as a right of women. And because madam सोचेंगे मगर होने वाला तो नहीं है, so it's better we don't dream, because if we dream, there are chances of getting dissatisfied, rejected. There are chances of getting dissatisfied. There are chances of not feeling more frustrated. So it's better, even if you want to dream, okay, I'll dream I want to be just a school teacher, or I want to be a university teacher, or I want to be a doctor, but I want to be an anesthetist, or I want to be a pediatrician. So never thinking of big dreams which is achievable and striving for it. I think this is so very important that each one of us should have, and especially girls and women, this is what I always would like to say, and to all their parents and the family and surrounding environment, help them follow and chase their dreams. I think there is a rainbow and we all need to try to fetch that. I think that's my comment to everyone.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, I mean, the goal of this discussion was to highlight the issues, make people aware, and these discussions fortunately are being live streamed on YouTube. They will be archived and people can later on see these discussions also. So thank you all panelists. Now, before we close, we have Dr. Jagdish Chinnappa with us. As I introduced him earlier, we are expecting some comments from you, Dr. Jagdish, and then we'll wind up. So over to you, Jagdish. Rachita, you can unspot the faculty so that others can also participate in discussion. Yeah. Yes, Jagdish, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a really fascinating discussion from three diverse viewpoints. We had the social viewpoint, the professional viewpoint, and the corporate viewpoint. And I don't think there are any major differences in the viewpoints which were put forward. I think the basic fundamental problem is that there are values and belief systems which a small girl starts inculcating right from the time she's there, and that goes on throughout life. There are limiting belief systems which are embedded in her brain, and that is the basic thing that is going to alter her thinking, her acting, and even her communication strategies. So Rachita started by saying that she is very happy that she's in a family which has allowed her to grow in such a way, in a very good way. And I think that's where the whole problem is. That is, we have certain stereotypes which are put in that girl children should not be assertive. They should have only certain role models. They have certain biological roles. That they should be only certain stereotypes in terms of their professions. So all these things are coming from limiting beliefs and value systems. So I think those things are things that we need to look at right from childhood, because if that is deeply rooted in the child's brain, you cannot do anything. And as far as the solution is concerned, I think the basic thing is that it's all comes out of education. If you look at assertiveness, and if you look at, let's take even the difference between two very similar states close by. If you look at Kerala, because of the high incidence of education and the matriarchal system, you have an assertive women's groups in everything, whether it is politics or whether it is professionalism or whether it is corporate. You have a high amount of assertiveness of women in that state. The same thing if you move a little down, if you look at, let's say, Karnataka, and otherwise, it's there, but it's not so widespread, or it's not there in all segments of society. So I think we need to look at how we are going to start this process in schools, that children can do everything that a boy can do. And I think there are fantastic, as Dr. Satish Pandya mentioned, there are fantastic models which have come out. One of the things which I would also look at is Dangal, a movie from where Amir Khan takes his children and makes them wrestlers, typically where, it's a male-dominated society. That is one. And the recent popularity of the Women's Cricket League, I think that was a very interesting thing, because it broke through the shackles that only men play good cricket. So I think what is important is that we are changing as a society, but I think this change has to start from very early in childhood. And it has to start saying that women, and there's no difference between boys and girls. Girls can do everything that boys can do. And yes, there are some biological differences, but I'm sure that has not stopped any lady from achieving what a man can do. So I think that belief system should come in right from school age onwards. Thank you very much, Satish.
Thank you, Dr. Jagdish Bose, for those comments. And now it's open for audience also. And I see Dr. Sanjeev Goel's hand raised. Yes, Sanjeev, welcome, and please go ahead with your comments.
Yes, I think we talk about women and men. I think it is high time that we talking about this. I think when the gender neutrality comes, then things will improve. And I think the thing has to come from men like us. Like I have one daughter, and I remember when I asked her, okay, who is going with you, how many boys and how many girls? So she will always get very angry with me. Okay, why are you asking how many boys or how many girls? And this I'm talking about 8 years back, when she was quite young. So I think the new generation is definitely improving that, but it is the men whom we have to improve, and we have to keep our horizons open. And I think after 10 or 20 years, maybe we'll not have anything like asking, are you a girl or a boy, doing this for the purpose of doing any work. So gender neutral thing is very important. And I think we, at least all of us in our family, those at least who are present here, we should follow that. I am very sure that there may be some who may still be having that, less confidence in the girls than the boys. But I think it is us, after listening to this talk, that we should get motivated.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev. I agree, we need to break the stereotypes. Any comments from Jagdish Bhai, Kokila Ben? We see Dr. Dulari Gandhi also in the audience. She was former professor of pediatrics. And Sant, if you want to say something, yes.
As a father of two daughters, 30 plus, who have balanced their life as scientists and has got family and got children, what I have learned is that these issues are for whole humanity, beyond all genders. Human weaknesses and strengths are same in both the genders. Just imagine the paradox that the mother is the first teacher, and most of the ladies are in the education as teachers. And today's Harvey Weinstein Me Too overturning in educated advanced civilization also teaches us that we need caring unit of family where both fulfill their responsibility, and technology and society can help, like work from home or lot of crashes. There is no crash in America. India, we have got crashed. So my submission is that if motherhood is taken care of, then fathers and male become more sensitive to the issues, and we will get better civilization, the next generation.
Thank you, Dr. Sant, for those comments. If there are no more comments, I think it's time also. Now it's 5 minutes past 9. So once again, I thank all the panelists and Dr. Bhavna especially for you, because you were new to our club and new to our fraternity, for us at least. And for us, it's a revelation. I think we will have you more often in this forum now. And thank you, Sheila, for sparing your
Thank
time.
you.
Thank you, Rachita. And thanks, Jagdish, also for sparing your time and with a lot of good inputs. So we meet again next Saturday.
I think one sentence that Bhavna Ben told, yes, we should make girls dream big.
Right.
Thank
That's
you.
a
All right.
good, that's that we should make girls dream big.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. And bye.